I'm Brandon Wong. This is Nightline, news making the headlines. Residents in 2 areas in Simpang Renggam put under house curfew. And SOP for movement control to be stricter. Good morning. An enhanced movement control order has been issued for 2 areas in Simpang Renggam, Kluang in Johor after the area recorded 61 positive cases of COVID-19 out of the 83 in Kluang. In a statement issued on Thursday, Senior Minister Security Cluster Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the enhanced MCO in Kampung Datuk Ibrahim Majid and Bandar Baru Datuk Ibrahim Majid will involve 3,570 local residents from 650 families. Datuk Sri Ismail said the order will be enforced effective today until April the 9th. This move will allow house-to-house case monitoring activities to be implemented in the period of 14 days. During the order, all local and visitors in the areas are subjected to house curfew, while non-locals are not allowed in with all entry points blocked. In addition, all business activities must halt during the period. Datuk Sri Ismail said adequate food will be supplied to the affected villages for the next 14 days through the Welfare Department. To ensure compliance, he said police, along with the Armed Forces, Civil Defence Force and RELA, will be tasked to take charge of the situation. He added those affected should remain calm and give their full cooperation to the authorities. Earlier, Datuk Sri Ismail said many people are still flouting the MCO, which came into effect on March the 18th. He said police arrested 110 people on Wednesday for going against the MCO. And at press conference on Thursday, Datuk Sri Ismail said 5% of people still violated the order, adding that police tactic now might change from advising to stern action. Speaking to reporters after chairing the Special Ministerial Committee meeting on the MCO, Datuk Sri Ismail said a new SOP is now being drawn by the NSC and will be presented on Saturday. It will then be applied during the second phase of the MCO, as presently there are still some leeway and exemptions given despite the movement restrictions.
Cara pihak polis mungkin berubah daripada nasihat dan berhemah kepada tindakan yang lebih tegas. Sebenarnya inilah kemahuan rakyat. Saya menerima banyak mesej daripada rakyat yang mengatakan perlu lebih tegas. Mereka tidak mahu hanya kerana 5% yang degil, tetapi kesannya kepada 95% yang akur kepada arahan yang dikeluarkan oleh kerajaan.
Datuk Sri Ismail, who is also Defence Minister, explained that despite countless reminders, the police and the army reported that many people were not following the social distancing directives, such as at the markets or even supermarkets. It is also the same on the roads, as there are still long queues at roadblocks, which indicate that many people were still venturing out, although most places appear empty. Authorities also inspected 163,487 vehicles and conducted spot checks at 1,719 areas on the same day. He reminded the public that it was their responsibility to break the COVID-19 chain, which will determine when the MCO will end. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Ismail said areas identified as red zones will soon undergo cleaning, sanitizing and disinfection works to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Peringkat awal ni kita tumpukan ke red zone dulu. Kawasan-kawasan yang dianggap sebagai mempunyai risiko tinggi dulu. Ya, premis awal macam-macam lah. Pasar, ya, masjid, semua sekali lah.
He added the process will be carried out by local authorities and Fire and Rescue Department, as well as assisted by the Malaysian Armed Forces if needed. The mass disinfection process of highly touched surfaces in public areas is considered one of the most effective ways to fight the spread of the virus. On a related matter, the NSC also decided that the State Security Council meetings will be attended by only one federal minister who hails from the state itself for better coordination. Datuk Sri Ismail also revealed the federal government will soon distribute free face masks to about 8.63 million households. In the meantime, Malaysia recorded a total of 2,031 COVID-19 infection cases on Thursday, including 235 new cases, which is now the country's highest daily rise so far. 4 deaths were also recorded on Thursday, taking the total to 23. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the mortality rate, however, remains low at 1.1%. Out of the 235 new cases, 60 of them are related to the Sri Petaling Tabligh event held earlier this month, while the remaining 175 cases are still in investigation and may be related to other clusters. 3 of the 4 recent deaths were of those who had attended the Sri Petaling Tabligh from February the 27th to March the 3rd. The 21st death was a 63-year-old man who had been warded at the Sultanah Bahia Hospital in Kedah since March the 23rd and died at 4 a.m. on Thursday. While death 22 was a 48-year-old who had a history of chronic illnesses and attended the Tabligh event. Death number 23 was a 62-year-old from Kajang who had been suffering from chronic illnesses and was treated at the Raja Perempuan Bainun Hospital in Ipoh since March the 23rd.
Beliau telah dirawat di Hospital Raja Perempuan Bainun Ipoh, Perak mulai 23 Mac 2020 dan disahkan meninggal dunia pada 25 Mac 2020 jam 12.37 tengah hari. Kes beliau masih dalam siasatan sekiranya mempunyai kaitan dengan mana-mana kluster COVID-19.
So far, the youngest person who contracted the virus in Malaysia is 12 days old, followed by a 4-year-old, while the oldest is 83 years of age. The salary of ministers and deputy ministers will be deducted for 2 months and channeled to the COVID-19 relief fund. The Prime Minister's office announced this in a statement on Thursday, adding that the salary of the Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, will also be channeled into the fund. The statement added that the deduction was decided during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday. The COVID-19 fund was launched on March the 11th to help those affected by the virus. Those who qualify to apply for the fund are people who are put under the Observation and Surveillance Order for COVID-19 contact under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, or those warded in a hospital authorized by the Ministry of Health for COVID-19. Applicants can receive up to 100 ringgit per day under the fund. As of yesterday, the fund has collected 8.4 million ringgit. Meanwhile, the Inland Revenue Board, LHDN, has announced tax deductions for benefactors who donate money or items to be used to help curb the spread of COVID-19. In a statement, it said that the incentive is to encourage more people to contribute in cash and kind to help their fellow Malaysians affected by the pandemic. At the moment, the incentive under the Income Tax Act will involve contribution to the Health Ministry's COVID-19 fund or a similar fund launched by the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA. Those who donate to organizations registered with the government can also get tax deductions. Taxpayers, however, are required to include a receipt with an official stamp from the recipient of the donations when applying for the incentive. Members of the public are also urged to properly check the background of such organizations to avoid becoming victims of scams. 7 Istana Negara staff have tested positive for COVID-19 and are now receiving treatment in a hospital. According to the Comptroller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tuanku Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria were also tested, but their results came back negative. Both the King and Queen have been placed under quarantine for 14 days starting Wednesday. During the quarantine, the King will not be meeting with the Prime Minister for the weekly pre-cabinet meeting. His Majesty also voiced his support for the extension of the movement control order to April the 14th and asked the people to stay strong while supporting the medical and security frontliners. With the movement control order now extended to April the 14th, some Malaysians are already feeling anxious and agitated at being confined to their homes with a constant stream of COVID-19 updates. A psychology expert at University Malaysia Sarawak Unimas, Professor Dr. Siti Raudza Ghazali said It is common for individuals to feel stressed, worried and anxious during a crisis like the current COVID-19 pandemic.
Professor Dr. Siti said COVID-19 is presenting new and unique challenges. Many are teleworking or working from home full-time for the first time, isolated from co-workers, friends and family. Daily routines are disrupted, causing added anxiety, stress and strain physically, mentally and financially. However, she added, as we protect ourselves against potential exposure to the coronavirus, keep in mind that social distancing does not mean social isolation.
Make sure that you keep communication open with your spouse and also your children, Do not forget to explain to children that this is not vacation. This is actually work. And you can explain why you have to work from home and what sort of work that you have to deal with, and you can set up some kind of times with them in which you schedule what's going on during this time and explain to them the importance of everybody, family members, to help each other.
Professor Dr. Siti later urged those struggling with emotional breakdowns to call the Talian Kasih helpline to seek help and emotional support. The hotline was set up as part of the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry's initiative in providing psychological support to those affected by the stay-home order. The hotline is available 24 hours every day.
Still to come on Nightline, Airasia grounds its fleet around the world. Welcome back. Airasia Group Berhad has announced the grounding of most of its fleets around the world due to the COVID-19, which has led to extensive border restrictions by various countries. In a statement on Thursday, it listed the suspension of most or all Airasia and AirAsia flights from various countries to operates out of, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines and India.
In Malaysia, the grounding of flights include the suspension of all international and domestic flights from Malaysia from March the 28th to April the 21st, and most AirAsia X flights from March the 28th to May the 31st. It added all affected guests are being notified by email and SMS. AirAsia customers, it said, have the option of converting their flight bookings into a credit account that is valid for future redemption for up to 365 days or move their flights for an unlimited number of times without any charges to another date before October the 31st. To manage costs during this period, the management and senior employees have volunteered to take pay cuts ranging from 15% to 100%.
The government stimulus package 2 that will be announced on Friday should seriously look at adopting money financing for the fiscal deficit strategy. AmBank Research Chief Economist Anthony Das said, given the limited flexibility of the fiscal policy, added a weak economy and a low inflation environment, money financing is a useful tool to support the economy. He said through money financing, or previously known as money creation, the government could mobilize resources to drive economic growth by financing the budget deficit. This will allow the government to spend as much as it wants with the aim of supporting the economy to its full capacity, boost private sector activities, reduce unemployment and finance major programs. Das said the domestic economy is expected to contract by 2.8% in the first quarter of this year, the first contraction since the third quarter of 2009. The Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents, MATTA, has urged the government to allow the suspension of the private sector's mandatory contributions to the Employees Provident Fund, EPF, and taxes for the year 2019. Its president, Datuk Tan Kok Liang, said the government could also help businesses pay 60% of employees' wages up to a maximum of 4,000 ringgit per employee for the next 6 months. He added these measures could help prevent mass layoffs due to the extreme economic challenges faced by businesses caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the government's Movement Control Order, MCO. SMEs, tourism companies, could cease operations, resulting in a large number of workers losing their jobs if such assistance and stimulus are not forthcoming very soon. The tourism industry employs more than 3.5 million people, or 23.5% of the nation's total employment, representing nearly a quarter of all jobs in Malaysia. It is expected that 2 in 5, or 40% of people, would lose jobs. Consequently, this will create a ripple effect in other sectors. Spain extends state of emergency as COVID-19 crisis worsens. This and more when we return. Our foreign segment. Spain has extended its state of emergency for 2 more weeks to allow the government to extend stringent lockdown measures in a desperate attempt to contain the coronavirus. This was after 655 new deaths were reported in one day on Thursday, bringing the death toll to 4,089, surpassing China's overall number of COVID-19 deaths.
According to the Health Ministry, the overall number of coronavirus cases in the meantime has soared to 56,188 from 47,610 on Wednesday, causing nursing homes across the country to be overwhelmed. Meanwhile, in Madrid, Spain's worst affected region, Worsens reportedly continued to arrive at the city's ice rink, which was converted into a makeshift morgue after authorities said existing facilities lacked resources. Following the development, the government has also ordered $471.4 million worth of masks, gloves and testing kits from China, and has turned to NATO partners for protective gear and ventilators to treat patients. Spain now has the second highest number of deaths globally after Italy.
Over in neighboring Indonesia, the total death toll to 78 after 20 new deaths were reported, the most in Southeast Asia, as the world's 4th most populous nation continues to see a surge in fresh cases. According to a government spokesman for the coronavirus task force, Ahmad Yuryanto, the number of new infections topped 100 for a 3rd consecutive day, bringing the total number of infections to 893 on Thursday from 790 a day earlier. It was understood that Jakarta is the province with the highest number of deaths at 46, followed by West Java with 11 and Central Java with 6. The capital city also has the majority of cases with 515, an increase of 53 since Wednesday. Another region with a significant increase was South Sulawesi, with 40 new cases, more than doubling its total number of cases of 27. In Turkey, authorities were still investigating the death of at least 30 people in the last 2 weeks in Istanbul who died after consuming pure alcohol, also known as ethanol. According to authorities, the death toll could rise as 20 more victims were still in critical condition. It was understood that the victims, most of them labor migrants from Turkmenistan, rubbed ethanol on their bodies before consuming it in an attempt to protect themselves against the new coronavirus. This was after a false rumor was circulated throughout the country that drinking alcohol can cure or prevent coronavirus. So far, 11 Turkmen people were detained as part of the fake alcohol investigation.
Meanwhile, China has recorded 67 new confirmed imported cases of the novel coronavirus after the deadly virus was brought under control in its epicenter, Wuhan. However, China's National Health Commission said on Thursday, although epicenters Hubei province and its capital Wuhan have been reporting 0 cases for a while, the death toll there continued to rise as 6 deaths were reported, taking the death toll in China to 3,287 people and the total number of cases to 81,285. It was also understood that 914 people were still in severe condition, with another 287 in critical condition in hospitals. In the meantime, Iran has started an intercity travel ban on Thursday, a day after Iran's government spokesman warned that the country might face a surge of cases in the coronavirus pandemic. Officials have complained that many Iranians ignored appeals to stay at home and cancelled travel plans for the Persian New Year holidays that began on March the 20th. The outbreak has killed 2,234 people in Iran, where there have been 29,406 reported cases of the virus so far. In Europe, the number of coronavirus deaths in the United Kingdom rose to 465, while the total number of coronavirus cases rose to 9,574 as of Thursday. Following the development, Britain has been in talks with over 3,000 businesses about supplying ventilators to quickly increase the health service capacity. The government has also transformed a large conference centre in East London into a temporary hospital capable of treating 4,000 COVID-19 patients, which is expected to be ready within a week. Over in Italy, police have enforced strict lockdown restrictions for the population on Thursday as the country fights a coronavirus outbreak that has so far killed over 7,000 people and infected 74,386 others. The government had previously shut down all non-essential businesses until April the 3rd and tightened the screws still further on the movement of the population, including hiking fines for people violating the shutdown to up to $4,300.
New SUKMA 2020 date to be announced soon. Don't go away. And we're back with sports. The Johor state government will abide by the decision to postpone the Johor Malaysia Games SUKMA 2020, scheduled to be held in July following the outbreak of COVID-19. According to State Tourism, Youth and Sports Committee Chairman Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi, the new date of the Games will be announced soon after taking into consideration the interest of all stakeholders.
Dato' On Hafiz said the state government also agreed that the safety and health factors of all parties in the event is something which could not be taken lightly. He also said that the appropriate date should not overlap other important events while pending the status of the current COVID-19 pandemic. Early on Thursday, the Malaysia Games Supreme Council unanimously agreed to postpone Johor SUKMA 2020 to a later date. The decision to postpone the biennial sport championship was made at a Malaysia Games Supreme Council meeting via video conferencing chaired by Youth and Sports Minister Datuk Sri Rizal Merican, 9 American. SUKMA Johor, scheduled from July 11th to the 19th, is expected to be attended by almost 30,000 athletes, officers, media personnel and volunteers.
Now let's take a look at what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers for Friday, March the 27th. Shielding the extremely vulnerable people during the MCO period takes centre stage of the New Straits Times, while the nation's best-selling Malay daily Harian Metro and Berita Harian highlight the stricter SOP in the second phase of the MCO. And the Malaysian Reserve talks to analysts on Malaysia's growth projection in the first quarter of 2020. Be among the first to get your copies. In the US, Santa Monica Pier, one of California's most popular locations, lay empty on Thursday due to the lockdown amid the coronavirus outbreak. The view is a stark contrast to what the area usually looks like during spring, even when the weather isn't perfect. Take a look. I'm Brendan Wong. Thank you for watching and take care.